Welcome to Talkin' Shit, the podcast where we get real about the unfiltered truths women face in the quest for perfection. I'm Jana, your host, a dietitian and fellow woman navigating the pressure to have it all together, the perfect body, career, relationships, and making it all look effortless. Who set that standard anyway? Here, we're calling out the diet fads, hustle culture, beauty standards, and everything else that keeps us feeling stuck. But we're not just venting, we're diving into how to break free and rewrite the rules on your terms. So, grab a coffee or a glass of wine and let's talk some shit. Together, we'll uncover how to live a life that's unapologetically yours. This is Talkin' Shit. Let's dive in. I am so excited for my guest. We have known each other maybe a couple years now.
Yeah.
And we met at a conference and it was just like instant energy connection. We wanted to talk about all the things. You are a healer in many different ways. And I'm super excited for us to talk some shit today. I think we're going to get into a lot of different things. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Elena. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm so excited to be a part of this. My mission is to raise your heart, body, and soul to live the most authentic life that you can. So many times we don't live authentically online as we do offline and showing up. So I'm here to show you your authentic self and also working. One of my past two is working with seniors and cancer patients, creating exercise programs and being more of an intuitive guide and showing up for them. So with my path, it all kind of started because I have been in 3 major car accidents and trying to move forward with my life. I said, will I be able to serve? Am I going to be able to show up and do what I want to do and be authentically able to do that? So that's kind of my passion and my mission of where I've come from.
Well, and I love that you support the elderly population too, because I feel like one, a lot of times it's like that forgotten population. And it's almost like once you get older, like movement and health doesn't matter, which is very interesting, right? Like it's more of like, oh, well, here's a medication, just take this, you'll be fine. Versus like, here are some other modalities that you can engage in to take care of your health, regardless of age. And you really believe that.
Yeah, I love the senior population. I was called grandma growing up, so it's like, I think it's been a part of me forever. I think I'm an old soul with a young heart, I like to say. But yeah, I feel like also in society, it's so easy when someone's hurting or doing, take the medicine, or they're not being listened to, or it's even like touch, a hug. A hug can be so healing over medicine. And that's one of my languages of love is touch. Like I love to give a hug and show up that way where most people aren't, in the senior population, they're put in a home or they don't see people and they're just told they're crazy, they're mean, they're this, they're that. And to me, what it is, a lot of times they're mentally with it, maybe their body isn't, so they know what they can do.
Mhm. Okay, so you just said something actually really powerful, the difference between like the mind and the body. And I think, moving into the future, it's already being talked about, but I think it's going to be a lot more mainstream is for so long we've had this thought that the mind is separate than the body, but in actuality, they're very much so connected. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So and also with our gut, and our health, so many times that's another thing to kind of expand on is our gut has so much to do with, our head and what goes on and people don't think that. People think, oh, just head is head or heart, and leading with that. But so many times what it is and going on is, as I said, with the seniors, their body may not be working, but physically they know that it can work. So it's this kind of like catch 22 is knowing what you can do and your body can't do what necessarily your mind knows that you can. So it's trying to reconnect with that and not also define ourselves like, oh, I'm just a senior. Oh, I can't do this and how to show up. So it's kind of redefining and how we talk to ourselves as well and the words that we use to show up for ourselves.
Man, that's across the board, regardless of age, right? But I feel like, okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into that because I feel like that starts happening for women and particularly like mid 30s. There's a lot of conversation that starts shifting around age of like, oh, well, I'm 35, I'm 40, I'm 45, and my body just isn't the same as it used to be. And rightfully so, right? Like
Right.
the body is not supposed to be the same that it used to be when you were 20,
No.
25, right? But it's
Yeah.
almost like, so instead of like acknowledging that and accepting that and finding beauty in that, it's almost like, well, then I just like give up. I throw my hands up and I'm not able to do the things that I used to. Now, certainly, oftentimes we do have to find modifications or we have to find something new that the body can really accept. But it's almost like the age defines the ability.
Totally. And I totally agree with that. And it's crazy too, because then we allow that because, it's like ever since after this age, you're going to gain weight. And after this, you're not. And so I feel like they're already putting like a sentence on what it's going to be, or assuming you're writing the story that hasn't happened because of something. So with that, I think the inspiration, also why I work with seniors and love that as well, is a lot of the women are don't listen to that. They say, you show up for yourself, like, yeah, your body's going to be different, so you do a modification. So you can't do this, you do something else, and not defining it. I love hanging out with these older women because of how much that they really can show up, how much they're like, why do you let that bother you? And so, some of these seniors, like my mom's 72, she plays tennis 3 days a week. She's like right now one of the youngest in
Mhm.
her tennis group. One of the oldest ladies is 91 years old.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that.
And it's so magical. So she's 91. So she doesn't use her age as like, well, I'm 91 and I can't, like half the people her age. Yeah. But does she let that stop her? No. So it's such an inspiration because I think, with my thing, it's your health vibe. It's how you show up. You don't have to change yourself. You don't have to be a brand new you. You don't have these goals. And so many times we talk good or bad, which kills me. There's no good or bad. It's what vibe and how you want to show up. They want to show up for themselves. So they're not allowing the age to define them. They're not allowing, what's going on around them to show that, oh, she's 91. She's just going to sit in bed and be useless.
Yeah. Some people know this, but I have a goal of living to 100 years of age in
Yeah.
good health. I will say in good health, like that is the goal of mine because the longevity aspect is really enticing for my brain. But I think it's so like I personally respect someone more that is 70, 80, 90 years old that shows up to the gym and does what their body can do versus a 20-year-old that shows up to a gym, right? It's like, oh,
Yes.
that was probably a little bit easier for you, but the person that is, older in age, they are showing up for so many different reasons outside of that physicality aspect. And I always want to learn from that person of like, why do you do it? There's this I think you might know this. There's this guy, I call him my walking crush. He is like probably 80s. His name is Chuck. He walks in the neighborhood. He walks every morning at the same time. And I finally introduced myself to him and learned his name, right? And I asked, like, why do you do that? He goes, well, it's better than sitting on the couch every day. Like that was just his response, right? Like, and it was super matter of fact. And I'm like, he ain't wrong. Like he's not wrong. And so I think that's like so cool to be able to experience that for long periods of time from that longevity aspect.
Definitely. And I love that you say that because they are such an inspiration. It's such a difference. I think like a 20-year-old, not to share, is like they're looking at themselves in the mirror, like, how cute do I look? And showing up where someone else, they're showing up because if they don't move their body, they know that it's going to hurt them in the long run. Or community, just seeing someone else out there motivating to do that. I tell a lot of my clients, you are working out more than me and my friends. It's very funny when you see this older population really showing up for themselves and not using age as a determination of where they're at.
hmm I love that. I remember one coaching session in particular. I was working with this individual, and for the first probably like 5 or 10 minutes, they share with me everything they could not do. And which can be powerful, right? Like we want to get, I'm a fan of like, it's better out than in, right? Like we want to get out these things. We want to get out these emotions that are likely attached to these things as well, because that's part of the healing process. And we want to accept it all, right?
Mhm.
It's all there. So we want to bring it in. We want to acknowledge it and we want to accept it. And then I asked her, I said, okay, Now tell me, what can you do? And she just looked at me like, what? And I said, yeah, I learned all the things that you can't do, but I want to learn or get curious about the things that you can do because that's where empowerment comes from. That's where action comes from. That's where feeling good about yourself comes from because we all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have things that we can't do or we don't want to do.
Yeah.
We all have things that we love to do and that we can do. And one of my favorite quotes is, what you focus on, you create. And if we're always focusing on the things that you can't do, it doesn't tell us anything about what you actually can do. So and I connect that often with like feeling motivated or feeling in action is, well, yeah, because you're connecting so much with your thoughts to everything that you can't do. I wouldn't be motivated by that either, right?
Right.
We look at like, oh, you have all these strengths, all these beauties, all these things that you have over here. Usually, when we start seeing those, it's like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Right. And so it's just, again, it's a mental shift and it shows us what is possible for each person and each person that looks different for.
Right. And I love that you say that because I think so many times that we allow that, as I said, to define you. And when, and they're told, like when you show up, so many of these doctors, you can't do this because of this age and you can't do that. And they're always told that. So then that you're hearing that. If more positive talk and more things like when they went and said, I'm so proud of you. You're 85 and you're still doing that. That's great. Be an inspiration to someone because I think so many times the story is written. They're put in a box and then that's how they have to show up. So I think, what I love about it is how motivating both of us can be. And especially you when you're showing up for your clients because you want to see the best in them. You want to show up and you show up so authentically. That's what I feel like you really stand out and make such a difference in their lives.
I think that's so interesting. So even before we started recording, you mentioned that, and I had to really sit and take that in because I know my internal struggles, and I know that I've really struggled with that because I thought that I had to look a certain way, be a certain way, have this like image in order for people to essentially like me. Like my people pleaser came out real big on that one. And it was exhausting, absolutely exhausting. And frankly, the people that liked that, I didn't really mesh with them.
Right.
Oh, like that feels inauthentic because
Uh-huh.
I was being inauthentic. And the more that I've leaned into that authenticity of like, yeah, I take really good care of my health. And like this morning is a perfect example. I missed the gym. I didn't wake up in time. My body was so sore and tired. And I had to shift my routine. I had to do it different. So, I'm going to go to the gym at a different time. I'm going to move my body in a different time because it requires something different from me. But I never want to be that person that doesn't like that tells my coaching clients, oh, do this, and I'm not willing to do it. I think that's so inauthentic. And I don't actually know like what they are struggling with, right? Like people come and they want help in the struggle to release themselves from the struggle and to live a thriving life. And if I've never experienced that, how can I help them navigate that? Like it doesn't sit well with me, if you will.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I feel like that's happening so many times is that we want to show up a certain way and we want everybody to like us. And we want, because that's how we've been conditioned. That's how if you don't do this, you don't get that. If you got to be a good girl, or bad girl, and so many times we're putting these categories or boxes on people. And it's so hard to show up that way. But as I said, that's why I love you so much. And from the day I met you, I felt, gosh, she's so authentic. Gosh, she shows up so real. And of course, we struggle with wanting to show up for others in a certain way. But then you're right. Then we can tell the story. We can show up for our clients because you have lived it. You can talk the talk because you've walked the walk. And if you didn't, you wouldn't say it. So I think to help others, you're really showing up because you're showing up for yourself.
Well, that could get me on one of my soapboxes. So maybe
Yep.
we should go there. Is I think that's one of the reasons why it's really hard for people to engage in health is because frankly it's been built off of lies.
Mhm.
right? Like the people that or the health professionals that are advising us aren't actually taking their own advice.
Mm-mm.
And or the advice is so extreme that no one can actually engage in it. And so when, clients check in with their healthcare professional, oftentimes they are not telling them the whole truth because they felt like they didn't meet the standard, or they felt like they were going to be judged or shamed or ridiculed for not doing the thing that they were told to do. And I've found that that approach does not work at
Mhm.
all. Like, I would rather have my clients tell me, like, hey, this week was really difficult. And for example, like I binged on chocolate cake. I'm like, all right, tell me about that. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care, like, right? Like, I just want to know, like, what are we working with? Because otherwise, like, and then if they're struggling with their weight, right? Like, okay, now we can start identifying and we can really talk through the things that are really impacting them. Maybe there's some emotion behind that that we need to explore and be with and journal through, even outside of the food aspect. And this is where we really create that foundation of health that is built on not only the individual being
Mhm.
true to themselves, right? Because if you've done the behavior, like don't even cry. Like I
Yeah.
okay, I have a story on that. I'm gonna share the
I
story.
love
I was in outpatient diabetes counseling, and so I'm a dietitian and a certified diabetes educator. And this was when I was working in the clinics, and a client came to me and said, "Oh yeah, I've been like super clean eating, like basically telling me everything that they thought I wanted to hear, right? Like all the fruits, all the veggies." I was like, geez, your diet's better than mine. Like, I'm thinking this, I'm not saying this.
Yeah.
And part of what they train us to do is assess full body, right? Like, so I'm looking at a lot of different factors in the assessment of nutrition status, basically. And so I'm looking at her fingers, and guess what her fingers had on
Chocolate?
it? That was the hot Cheetos
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the like hot
The
the
orange,
orange stuff
like that.
on the fingers.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, like she's not ready, right? Like she's like that's probably something that feels very shameful to her. So she's not ready. So my whole goal was to just build rapport, build the relationship, build rapport, build the trust that she could confide in me and I wasn't going to demean her.
Mhm.
We see that way too much, or I've seen that way too much, where clients, go to their healthcare professionals and they are being really honest and they're just demeaned
Mhm.
and told, like, basically, like, why did you do that? You're making your condition worse, or like, how, like, it's not supportive and it's not conducive to actually having a healthy relationship with your healthcare provider, but also a healthy relationship with yourself. And so I'm here to just open up those authentic conversations, right? Like, just tell me what you're working, like what we're working with, because together we'll work through it to where you're being honest with yourself and also you're being honest with me, like your support system.
Right. Yeah, I feel like a lot of times people aren't because they've been so shamed, even starting from at home, how you were raised, what you saw maybe, with who raised you as whatever figure it is, mom, dad, grandparents and things like that. I was very blessed not to have a mom shame me on weight or what I ate or how it showed up. For me, it's been pretty like easy throughout my life. I was able to eat what I want, but then you do hit a certain age and things start to change. So it's what energy and vibe I want to give to it. But showing up authentically of what you said is I want people to trust and they aren't trusting their healthcare and to show up and be so shamed, like you're overweight and the number and this. It's not about the number. It's how I feel like how you fit in the clothes and how you want to show up. Or they talk about the BMI and they talk about this and you're obese and like they start just targeting you and, putting you in those boxes. And to me, I just want to say like, F you, buddy. Like, no, like, how does that make you feel? Someone shamed you and showed up and said, you're a bad doctor. You didn't show up this way. How would they feel if the roles were turned on them?
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting because that was one of the things that I changed. Again, back to this outpatient clinic that I was at, is the protocol in the clinic was that the client would check in. Um, you would call them, they would get weighed, and then you would go in to have your session with them. And I noticed that as soon as the individual would be weighed, they would shut down.
Mhm.
It took quite a bit of time to build that conversation rapport because the only thing that they were focused on was if they lost weight or if they gained weight, and it wouldn't really tell me much information. And so I changed the protocol to where they would weigh if they wanted to after the session, and it made such a huge difference because the full focus of our conversation wasn't just on weight. That's certainly part of the equation. It's not the entirety of the equation. And it doesn't tell me too much about behaviors, lifestyle, vibe, energy. How are you feeling? Like, tell me. Um,
Right.
so, yeah, that makes so much sense. Okay. So, you're in a very exciting time of life, but you shared with me something that was really interesting. So, can you share that with the audience too?
Yes. So I'm getting married in 3 months.
Mhm.
Woo!
Yeah.
And I finally said yes to the dress. um, but for me, with all this, I waited a very long time. I've never been the one to have my stuff planned out and my Pinterest board and things like that. However, trying on these dresses, of course, you're looking at yourself. Of course, you're looking at image. You don't want to look a certain way. You don't want to do. But some of the best advice that I actually got was show up authentically of who I am. Do not diet. Do not make yourself look like your skin and bones. Show up for who you are because when you look up at those pictures, I want to see Elena. I don't want to see Elena who doesn't look like me, who can't breathe and is trying to fit into something and I'm uncomfortable the whole night and showing up that way because I think so many times you're told be the bride, do this, do that, and show up that way. And to me, that's icky. To me, that's not authentic. And I want to look at myself and I want to see Elena for who I am at 43 years old, embracing my body, embracing who I am. And if I don't feel like that, then the energy and all that is not going to be authentically myself.
Mhm. Do you feel the pressure to do it a different way?
100%. Even for instance, I was sharing a story. So I was out at a lunch with a girlfriend and I was so hungry. I was so excited. I wanted to get what was like hamburger and fries and just, I love the place where it's at. And she looked at me, she's like, oh, like, are you sure you want to get that? Aren't you dieting? Aren't you on? And I was like, no, like I don't want to worry what I'm eating. I want to eat what I want. I want to enjoy this time with you. And I don't want to think that you're sitting here judging me eating this hamburger that I want because I'm going to be getting married.
Hmm. Yeah. Does your fiance have anything to say about that?
He's he's always been really wonderful with everything. He always is like, Elena, I love you for who you are. You know, he also is trying to work on his health a little bit too. He's 6'5", like he's a big man. And so working together with us, we said, we want to show up for ourselves. We said we're not dieting. We would like to eat healthy and make the right choices. But if on the weekends or during the day, if I want to eat something that I want to eat, we're going to eat it. If he wants a piece of his pie, I'm not going to sit there and be an asshole. Be like, hey, buddy, you're getting married. You got to fit in your
Mhm.
outfit.
Yeah.
That's not how we run. He's been super supportive, which I love. And he always, when I'm trying to like do a little bit more routine for myself. And when he notices or picks up, he's like, hey, babe, like check your butt out. Look at you. You've been doing good or little things. It's nice to be acknowledged, but it's not something that he has required or ever said. And that's what I think is beautiful is that we can show up for each other and
Mhm.
and have that connection because a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I'm debating if I want to go there or not.
I want you to go there. Go
So I've
there.
had it a couple ways. So one, I think that's really cool that you're honoring your body um, and also I think it's cool that your fiance is also honoring it because that's essentially the person that he fell in love with, right? But
Yeah.
it gets me into, sometimes us women are harder on ourselves and other women than men are on us. And we can see that in like many different ways. So there's certainly something there. But I was thinking, as you said that, I've had several clients that I've worked with that have lost quite a bit of weight were saying like anywhere between like 40 and 80 pounds. And their significant other told them that they needed to stop because they became insecure and thought that they were going to leave them for someone else. And that was very interesting to experience as the coach, right?
Yeah.
Like individual, in no way were they stepping into an unhealthy ground.
Right.
They were feeling really good, really confident. They were so happy and proud of themselves for really taking their health seriously. And they had to stop because the significant other was starting to feel very insecure. And so they did. And that was I still don't know how I feel about this, right? Like I want to open this up for conversation because there's so
Yeah.
many different viewpoints on that. But I will say my initial thought was like, screw you. Like I know, like
Yeah.
for the woman, like she's feeling good. She is, feeling healthy, feeling strong, feeling confident, right? Like super proud of herself, all the things that I want women to experience. And there was a dynamic that really didn't start working, which is always interesting because as we step into health and start changing our relationship with ourselves, it always changes relationships with others because now we're operating as a different person. But
Right.
like, what do you think about that? I don't know. Like, it's just interesting.
Part of me like thinks like exactly what you said, like, excuse me, like F you. Like, dare you? Like, if you this is supposed to be your partner and this is that, like it's so sad that they would project that on that. You would think that your partner would be happy for you. You would think that you see the joy. You're not changing who you are. You're changing that energy. You're changing the vibe. So with that, what are they so afraid of? And that just shows that they need to really show up for themselves. But it does kind of anger me because if you're in this partnership and till death do us part, through good, through bad, then where's that support? Where are they showing up? So I think it's like digging deeper to see like where that's coming from them. But for me, I think I'm pretty sure I'd be like, screw you, I'm still going. Like I'm gonna do me. Like if you don't like it, bye Felicia, that's your issue and your problem. I mean, easier said. And I have been there, with what I've had like one boyfriend kind of say something, and I basically like bit his head off, like, sorry, not sorry, buddy. Like, if you don't like it, but that takes a lot too, because then it cuts out your insecure. Someone's jabbing you. You've worked so hard, and someone who you think is supposed to be there to support you is putting you down. But
Mhm.
it's not against you necessarily. It's them who they don't like. It's them who they're upset with that they're not following through, but they're projecting when it's their thing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm really going to talk some shit on this one because I know why it bothers me. So we're just
Yeah.
going to open that
Yes,
up.
I want you to talk some shit.
Um, so so I have experienced this firsthand in a intimate relationship where the individual was did not like that I was starting to look different. He liked when I was in a bigger size body. And there was a sense of comfort that was around that. And when I started to lose weight, when I started to dress different, when I started to, frankly, get more attention from people, he did not like that. And it was very interesting. Now, right, so it's been almost 11 years. So I can reflect back on this and see, with more clarity and understanding of what was happening. But in it, I felt like, oh my gosh, well, I do need to stop because I was in love with this person and I wanted to be in a relationship with this person. We had talked about marriage and, all these things. And I thought, why is this person that says they love me also saying this about me feeling really good about myself? That just was like a space where I didn't understand, and now
Right.
obviously I'm still single, but we're no
And
longer. Yes,
fabulous, by the
yes,
way.
thank you. And I can see that that dynamic would have never been healthy, right?
Right. Mhm.
Never. And so thankfully I was able to see that and move in a different direction. And I also have some context of who that person is today. And it's very interesting though, like that my inclination was to shrink back,
Mhm.
stop doing what made me feel good in an attempt to be in a relationship with a person that wanted me to stay small.
Mhm.
Very interesting.
Very easy, and to have that control, but like to have you come back 11, to realize and kind of see it on a different level. But I think it's also that control. They wanted to, to have that control over the situation of how you showed up and certain stuff. So I love that you are seeing it differently now, but it's hard when you're in it. How do you get out of it when you're in something like that you worked so hard for, but then and me too, like the people pleaser, you want to show up for them. Like, oh, well, if they're thinking that, then maybe, believing something that's not real because they're so insecure of who they are and wanting to have that control.
And I do want to say, like, it is vice versa, right? Like, I've known men as well who really started taking care of their health and really went on a growth journey. And the individual that they were with felt very uncomfortable, right? Like, there's a lot of insecurities that actually start coming out when you start elevating your vibe. Right? Like
Mhm.
you said, like your health vibe, when you start elevating your vibe and feeling really good, it can make a lot of people feel very uncomfortable. Like I even see this in coaching, right? Like when a woman expresses, I'm really proud of myself or I feel really confident in this, it's really hard to get someone to step into that because they're like, "Oh, like I don't want to be conceited."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
but you did
No.
that, right? Like you did that. So we need to claim that. It's not being conceited, it's being confident. You're claiming what you actually did and you're saying to others what you know how to do.
Exactly. And I think so many times women against it, and like that's what I said I love about you is we can promote each other. We can show up and see such a positive thing. And when you get a win, it's like, yes, I love that you got that talk or, things like that. But we see so many times that it's like throwing, like putting salt in someone's wound. If they want to show up, like, why are they conceited? Because that they are so proud of themselves. But it's like, what we grew up with, society, what you see. It's no, you can't be happy because then it's going to take away from them. We all have our gifts. We all are a piece of the puzzle, and we all don't need to be that CEO. We have our lanes too to stay in. And I think that's the biggest thing. Stay in your own lane,
Mhm.
and be happy for others. I love when my friends can feel confident about themselves. And it's sad that people knock them down due to their own insecurities of what it is.
Mhm. Yeah. What would you, okay, so I feel like this could be an episode a lot of people resonate with for many different reasons. We talked about a lot of different topics and we
Yes.
probably like keep going. Um,
Yeah.
but like so if someone is really resonating with this episode and they are wanting to elevate their health vibe, or their vibe just in general, let's say that, like what are some things that you would tell, like where can they start?
I think it's just starting with sometimes reaching out to someone or asking for like that extra support. I know we can do it. I can do it on my own and things like that. One of my first things is reaching out to someone else, someone who you feel safe with, and just saying, hey, a good morning message. Or, what I like to do, get up in the morning sometimes, put on a song and dance naked. And just getting out different energy because what one person may like, another person may not, or, in just randomly, what I love to do sometimes when I'm out in public, just striking a conversation with someone, just someone so different, just to get a different energy, a different vibe. The other day I was at the store and this lady wore the most amazing outfit, this older woman. And I just had to go up to her. I was like, I have to meet you. I said, who are you? And she was this 85-year-old lady living life, telling me she has two boyfriends who are 32. And then in the end, I said, can I give you a hug? And I think it's just, reaching out and not being afraid and trusting ourselves that other people are going through the same thing. And it's okay to be going through it and living. And also, what I say, if you want to sit in bed and pick your nose and watch whatever show you want, so be it and go with it because tomorrow is not promised and there's going to be a next day. Am I happy all the time? No, but I'm not going to project that on someone or what it is. If someone asks, Elena, you're always happy, blah, blah, blah. No, I have my days and I'll let you know. And I think we need to embrace the light and dark and not always have to be like light, 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 light.
Yeah, toxic positivity is annoying, actually.
It's
I
really annoying to me. I don't know how you feel about it, but like literally, I just want to like punch someone when they have that. Not really, but
I say that you have the power to experience the totality of life.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is, and it's interesting because, the last couple of years have been pretty dark for many reasons. And we have become very accustomed to connecting with those negative emotions. And it's also biological, right? Like our brain connects more with negative because it's a way it tries to protect us.
Right.
However, we can't forget that there's also positives that are happening every single day around us. And our job is to really find those positives and connect with them. And that's one of the ways, right? Like when you're connecting and having conversation with people, that is one way that you can connect with a positive vibe. Because when you start talking with people, their stories are so beautiful and their resilience is so beautiful. And like they can teach us so much versus maybe being behind the phone and never making eye contact with someone.
Definitely.
Like we need that connection factor as humans in order to feel good.
100%. And community is very big for me. I know that I can do things on my own. I'm
Mhm.
very capable of it. But at the same time, also like with human design, certain things are for one generator, and community is how I show up. Community makes my heart happy, and that's how I thrive and can show up authentically too by having such a strong community that's real, raw, and can talk shit, can show up for how they want to show, and we can be ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, that's hard to find though.
It is. It's very hard to find. And here it is. It takes just one person you can have in your community, you know? It
Yeah.
is hard to find because we go through so many stages in our life. The friend that you thought that you were friends with second grade is going to show up the same way that someone you met the other day may not be true to that. So we always think, and not put that on there as well, because you never know who you're going to meet. Don't put on a guard because, oh, we've been friends forever. They're going to know me so well. Some of the people who I've known my whole life have not shown up for me, could care less about it. And the people that I've just met have shown up way more than someone else. So I think acknowledging your circle as well.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So one thing that my counselor told me, she's like, you're not going to be able to find your tribe or your community if you yourself are inauthentic.
Mhm.
And I thought, geez, she well, that's true, right? It's like, dang, right? And it goes back to, well, it first always starts with you. If you want the thing, you need to become the thing in order to get the thing.
Yes.
Right? And so that is a testament to you because you show up so authentic to who you are, and it instantly draws people into that.
Thank you. I really try to do that because I don't want someone to come to me and be like, that's not the Elena I see online, or that's not what the advice is, or they see me out and I'm being like, don't eat this or don't do that. And then like in the corner eating my hamburger and doing things like I'm like, Nina, Nina, I catch you, I
Yeah.
want people to see me who I am. I want people to know exactly, what's going on. Because if not, then I'm not anything to anybody.
Yeah. It's a great way to reduce anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, right? Because you're not constantly wondering, like, oh, is someone going to see me and I'm not doing the thing that I say I'm like supposed to do. If you just show up like how you actually are in real life, you don't have to hide anything. And usually anxiety starts going down big time.
100%. I definitely feel the same way with you on that. And yeah, just being real and raw and who we are, that's going to attract the type of people that we want in our tribe.
Yeah. Well, Lainey, this has been so wonderful. We really could talk for hours, probably.
We
Just so, like,
definitely could
a
like just
lot
go
of different things. But
rabbit hole.
I want to honor your time, and I just want to thank you so much for being on here and sharing some of your voice, your authentic voice with the world. I appreciate it.
I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on. I really
Well,
adore you.
this has been Talking Shit. If you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up or leave a review on the Apple Podcast app. If you want more episodes, click that subscribe button. And if you want to learn more, visit healthwinds.org. Talkin' Shit is produced and hosted by me, Jana. This production is also made possible by the Community Media Access Collaborative. Learn more at cmac.tv. See you next time.